My name is Tia, and I'm a 27-year-old woman. This experience was a very scary one for me because it involved rushing my husband to the hospital while I was heavily pregnant. It all happened because of my mother-in-law. I never had a good relationship with her, not because I didn't try to have one, but because she just did not like me. But let me just start by telling a little about my husband, Wes, and me. Wes and I met in high school, but we didn't start dating until college. We ended up applying to the same college and had a bunch of electives together. He was the only familiar face to me, so I guess I approached him because of that. He felt comfortable talking to me because he felt the same way, and we ended up clicking really well. We began dating in our first year of college. It was in our final year that we decided to introduce each other to our families. While my family was more than accepting of Wes, the same was not the case with Wes's mom, Mandy. I don't know why Mandy had such a huge vendetta against me, but it existed since the start of my relationship with Wes. It wasn't as bad initially, but it only got worse over time. When I first met her, she was fine, although she did not pay me any mind. But as my relationship with Wes continued to last, she became increasingly bitter. She never missed a moment to make a snide remark, and when we were alone, she'd just straight up insult me. I was bored with it for a long while. We kept wanting to get in between and sort things out, but I just figured that if Wes stepped in, it would only make Mandy hate me even more. And who knew what she would say when Wes wasn't there? I kind of just learned to tune her out. But when she realized that her words weren't affecting me anymore, she would purposely invite other family or friends over for a few of our dinners and lunches, and then she'd make fun of me. It was humiliating, but I put up with it to save Mandy and Wes's relationship. I grew up in a very family-oriented environment, so when a family relationship breaks, it's heartbreaking. I didn't want Wes to experience that. Whenever Wes caught the wind that Mandy was doing these at dinner or lunches, he would just silently grab my hand and we'd leave. Of course, Mandy would never be okay with it, but Wes assured me that he'd handle it always. And then Wes proposed to me. It was the happiest moment of my life. He was so romantic and thoughtful about it that I couldn't help bragging about him to everyone around me. When Mandy found out that we were engaged, I will never forget how she reacted.
"You're engaged?" "Yes, we planned to get married a little later, but I just couldn't wait. I love Tia way too much." "Ugh, are we sure you guys are meant for each other?"
What do you mean? Of course we are. That's why we're engaged.
Please. My Wes deserves so much better than you. Mom, what the hell?
What do you even mean?
Wes, I genuinely believe I can find someone way better for you. If you could just give me a chance. Absolutely not. I love Tia, and she's the one for me. I'm marrying her regardless of what deranged crap you say. It's not deranged. I'm just looking out for you.
Look, I know you don't like me, Mandy, but this goes beyond crossing a line. You can hate it all you want, but I'm the one that Wes chose to be with, and you just have to deal with it.
So you can either be quiet about it, or I will uninvite you from the wedding. You can't do that. I'm your mother. Watch me. If you say anything more against Tia, I will do it.
Mandy was not happy, but she remained silent. I remember feeling my stomach drop when she showed us her distaste for me. It hurt how she could so blatantly tell me that she didn't like me. I will admit that it brought out a lot of my insecurities. I found myself questioning if I was even good for Wes. It sent me down a whole spiral during which I kind of stopped talking to Wes. We had an inkling about what was wrong, but whenever he did try to talk to me, I avoided it. Yeah, I know. That was not a good move on my part, but Mandy knew just where to hit me. When I started shutting myself out way too much, Wes cornered me and forced me to talk about what I was feeling.
You need to tell me what's wrong.
There's nothing wrong.
Both you and I know that's a pile of BS. You've been completely different recently. I gave you time to figure it out, and now I need to know.
There's nothing wrong, Wes.
Is this about what my mother said the other day?
It just hurt.
Oh, babe, I know. I wish I had done more to stop her. I'm sorry.
No, you did great, actually. I was glad you stood up for me like that. What Mandy said it got me thinking. Am I the best person for you?
Look at me. I need you to understand that none of that matters. You make me feel happy, and you're my #1 fan. You've been with me at my worst, and you've celebrated with me when I was at my best. What my mother says doesn't matter at all in this relationship. I choose to be with you, and that's all that should matter.
Are you sure? Whatever your mother says won't affect us?
Absolutely sure. Cross my heart. I won't let any of that get in between us.
It felt really reassuring to see that Wes was unaffected by everything Mandy said. I began to get better after that, and Wes decided that we should minimize contact with Mandy until we were married. It was a breath of relief not to have to deal with her. I know that I was the one pushing to meet up with her regularly, but I genuinely thought our relationship would get better if we spent more time together. Mandy obviously kept trying to reach out over the next year. She kept trying to butt into our wedding planning. I was tempted to at least let her have some say in the wedding because, what parent doesn't dream of the perfect wedding for their child? Plus, my parents also got to have some say in the wedding, but Wes quickly shut down any thought I had about involving Mandy. He reminded me that we didn't even know what she would do, or if she would say something worse than before. We politely declined all her attempts to give her input. And when she wouldn't stop, we resorted to ignoring her. When the day of our wedding came around, Wes and I were buzzing with excitement. We couldn't wait to declare our love for each other in front of our friends and family. The wedding wasn't very big, only the people we considered close to us. Mandy was an obligatory invite because she was Wes's mom. The ceremony went off well, and you count on Mandy's constant eye-rolling. I didn't find out that she was doing it until a family member who was sitting next to her told me about it. I couldn't help but laugh at the image of that since it didn't ruin my day. I didn't care much for it. The reception was even better than the ceremony. I was told that Mandy tried to start some crap at our reception, but no one paid her any mind. She just ended up sulking in the entire time and also left pretty early. That, in my opinion, was a win. We seemed to think so too because she suddenly seemed a lot more carefree after she left. Mandy didn't really contact us much after we got married. She tried to get a hold of Wes when we were in the middle of our honeymoon, but Wes kept the conversation short. She got annoyed, and obviously she sent me a long text about how I was stealing her son away from her. I wanted to react to it, but Wes put me on screen timeout. It was a blissful couple of months to have very minimal contact with Mandy. Then, when we got pregnant, we had to tell her about it. Out of curiosity, she was not happy in the least. She once again asked Wes if he was sure I was not trying to trap him with a baby. Now, I don't know if it was my hormones at that point or because I was genuinely done with her treating me badly, but I lashed out at her. Look, you cannot keep saying disrespectful stuff to my face. I cannot keep tolerating it. These are valid concerns I have. I don't care if they're disrespectful. This was supposed to be a happy announcement. I do not need you trying to ruin it. It may be happy for you, but my son may not be happy with it, and I need to make sure he's okay. I can promise you that I'm very, very happy that I'm going to have a child with Tia. If you love your son, maybe you should be supportive of what he says and does. This is no way a good mother treats her child. What do you know about being a good mother? I grew up with an amazing mother. I hope to be as amazing as her with my child. Yeah, your mother was so amazing that you definitely did not turn out horrible. That's enough. That's beyond insulting, and you need to stop. If you keep this up, I will not let you visit your grandchild. Well, I know one thing for sure. I know how not to treat my child thanks to you. It felt good to finally stand up for myself. Wes was also really proud of me for doing it. I knew I had to put my foot down because there was no way in hell I would let my kids see the way that Mandy treated me and think that it was okay to do that to another person. After that, on the rare times that we did meet Mandy, I made sure that Mandy stayed in line. I didn't let her say or do anything I didn't like, and if she did, I would ask her to leave or I would leave. Mandy did not like that one bit. She kept complaining to Wes about me being disrespectful, but Wes didn't have any of it. He would tell her that I was acting appropriately and that if she felt disrespected, she could be the one to leave. About 8 months into the pregnancy, I decided to hold one last family dinner because once the baby got here, I didn't want anyone to be around for a long while. Wes and I made plans to take care of the baby together, and we were going to do it by ourselves. We wanted to bond with our child properly. Mandy kept trying to insert herself in our plan, but we were very adamant. She tried to accuse us of robbing her of her time with her grandchild, but we told her that there was no need for her to spend so much time with the baby. Anyway, I had made dinner. I spent a week making plans and getting groceries. Wes and I spent the entire weekend meal prepping so that when it was time, we'd have to do minimal work. I'd invited my family along with Mandy. I was excited to be able to spend time with them. Now, one thing I do need to share is that Mandy has a severe soy allergy. And while Wes doesn't have it as bad as her, he too has an allergy to it. As a result, our house has no soy products in it whatsoever. So there's not even a chance of cross-contamination. A couple of days before we hosted dinner, Wes and I decided to finish up setting up our nursery and even installed baby monitors. I do not know why, but something told me to switch the monitors on for dinner. They're very discreet, so you'll actually have to look for the cameras to see them. When it was time to host, everything went smoothly. I first brought out the finger foods and wine. Everyone was chatting away happily and asked me lots of questions about my overall well-being. Wes was busy in the kitchen. He was just getting things ready for the actual dinner. At some point, my parents wanted Wes to come sit with us and talk to them. Wes was done heating up the food, so he left the kitchen, grabbed a wine glass, and sat next to me. My family asked him all sorts of questions regarding my pregnancy and his feelings about entering parenthood. When he answered them earnestly and told them that he was anxious yet excited, it made me feel warm on the inside to hear Wes talk so excitedly about our child. Mandy looked at us with utter disgust. I swear, I could hear the thoughts in her head. At some point, my mom asked her if she was just as excited as her to become a grandmother, and Mandy scoffed in my mom's face and remained silent. My mom just awkwardly turned back to Wes and me. At some point, Wes mentioned that we had recently finished our nursery. Obviously, everyone was excited to see the nursery, so they asked Wes and me if they could see it. The nursery was Wes and I's big project, so of course we wanted to show it off. I made sure that everyone left the living room and walked up with us. Mandy grudgingly followed us. Everyone loved the nursery, except maybe Mandy. I didn't pay much attention to her. My mom gushed about it a lot, and Wes and my dad spoke about the woodwork. I don't know when, but Mandy slipped away from the rest of us. But when we were done with the nursery, we made our way downstairs. Just as we were reaching downstairs, I saw Mandy walking out of the kitchen. "Mandy, where did you go?" "Oh, nothing. I just needed to use the restroom." "That's the kitchen." "I know that, Tia. I came down earlier to use the bathroom." "There was one on the same floor. You could have asked Wes or I." "No, you guys looked happy discussing your new nursery, which, by the way, is gorgeous." "Thanks, but what were you doing near the kitchen?" "Well, when I was done using the bathroom, I thought I heard something in the kitchen, so I went to check." "Did you find anything? Was there anything wrong?" "Oh, no, it was just my imagination." "Well, okay, let's all eat some dinner." I should have known that something was wrong the second that Mandy complimented the nursery. Mandy never, and I mean never, passed up the opportunity to belittle or insult me. She also had this weird smirk on her face. My instinct kept telling me she did something wrong, but I couldn't quite place what she could have done. While all my guests sat around the table, my mom and I set the table. We went to check up on the food. He did a taste test of all the dishes, and then I heard a crash and a loud wheezing. I rushed over to the kitchen to see Wes holding onto his throat while his face slowly turned red. Thankfully, I had strategically placed an EpiPen in every room of the house, so I got the one in the drawer out and quickly administered it to Wes. We still needed to make sure that Wes would be okay, so my mom, dad, Wes, and I rushed to the hospital together, while my mom, Mandy, and my sister followed behind. We looked tired and drained. I held onto him as I panicked on the inside. My mind raced to figure out what could have caused such a reaction. I thought back to all the ingredients we used in our food, and as far as I knew, we didn't use any soy. When we got to the hospital, Wes was checked up, and after some tests, we were told that his soy allergy acted up. He was hooked up to an IV and giving some medicine to stop after effects of the allergy. While I was happy that nothing major happened to Wes, my mind wouldn't stop racing about his soy allergy acting up. I knew I didn't keep any sorts of soy ingredients in my home, and there was only one person I was suspicious about: Mandy. I stayed with Wes until he was discharged. I tried my best to keep my cool around Mandy, who was freaking out. She kept accusing me of purposely hurting her son. I knew I couldn't lash out until I got back home. That is where my proof would lay. Wes was feeling a lot better, so I shared my suspicions with him. "So there's something I need to tell you. It was super weird how you had an allergic reaction."
I know, right? Do you think any of the ingredients we used had any soy in it?
"No, but I think someone tampered with the food."
What do you mean? Do you seriously think that?
I don't want to jump to conclusions, but your mom was in the kitchen for some reason while we were in the nursery.
You're not saying that she tampered with the food, right? Because if she ate it first, she'd definitely almost die.
Yeah, it seems so stupid, but that's the only time that she was out of my sight and the food was left unattended.
I really don't want to believe that my mother would jeopardize her own health that way, but I know that she hates you enough to do something as stupid as that.
Let's just check the baby monitors when we get back. You keep the rest of the occupied while I review the footage.
All right, if she actually did it, I don't know how I'm going to react.
I was scared to find out what had happened because, like Wes, I did not know how to react if Mandy actually did hurt Wes. When we finally reached back home, Wes got everyone to sit in the living room and they tended to him for the most part. Mandy was the most caring, which made it even more unlikely that she did it. But I excused myself to go to the washroom and went over to the office where my laptop was connected to the baby monitor. I reviewed the footage, and to my utter surprise and disgust, I watched Mandy walk into the kitchen and pull something out of her bag while she frantically looked around to see anyone was near. Of course, we weren't there because we were busy doing something else. She poured whatever was in her bag into the food and quickly stirred it around. She washed her hands and walked out. I was fuming. I ran into the living room with my laptop in hand. Everyone looked at me in confusion, but I set the laptop on the coffee table and had everyone watch the video. Mandy's face paled as she realized that she had been caught. Everyone looked at her in shock.
Why did you do that, Mom?
For someone who brags about loving her son so much, you sure don't act like it. Why the hell did you do something so deadly as that? I can explain. I'm giving you a minute. It wasn't meant for Wes. It was meant for me.
Are you out of your damn mind?
That's also not an explanation. I didn't mean to hurt Wes in any way. I just thought that if I was the one to eat it, I could blame everything on Tia and maybe sabotage me? Are you kidding? You actually endangered your son and yourself for something as trivial as that?
I want you out of my house and out of my life.
No, you don't understand. I was just looking out for you.
Right, by almost killing me. Get out!
Mandy tried to protest, but my dad escorted her out. She kept yelling and trying to run back in, but my dad held her firmly and took her out. My mom tended to Wes again because he looked a little weak. We were both shocked and angry with Mandy, and I knew I didn't want to see her anytime soon. I gave birth around 5 months ago. Wes and I are still getting used to the new routine and lack of sleep, but we're happy. We enjoy bonding with our son, and we're ready to let our friends and family come over to visit. As for Mandy, I don't know what she's been doing, but she hasn't tried to contact us since she tried to poison Wes. Hopefully, she felt guilty enough to actually reflect on her behavior and learn from her mistakes. It will be a long, long time before we even let her into our lives again. If we do, we are going to be super careful and cautious about it. If there was one thing I learned from this experience is that family is complicated. Just because you care and make effort, it doesn't mean that they'll reciprocate. However, when it comes to defending you and standing up for those you love, you should always do it, regardless of whether you're standing up against your own family. Thank you for your time.